Alright, everyone, let's talk about something we've all felt before, that overwhelming weight of a huge goal. Maybe you've wanted to learn a new language, launch a business, or get in better shape. But when you look at the whole journey ahead, it feels like climbing a mountain that just never ends. It's so easy to freeze up, to think, I can't do all that, and then do nothing at all. Well, today, we are diving into a piece of wisdom that's been around for 2,500 years. It's from Laozi, the founder of Taoism, and it's one of those ideas that sounds simple at first, but once you really get it, it changes everything. He said, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Let's break down how this ancient principle can help us stop procrastinating and start moving toward what actually matters. First, let's talk about where this quote comes from. It's in the DaoDeJing, the foundational text of Taoism written by Laozi himself. Now, on the surface, it's about taking that first step when you're going somewhere far away. But Laozi wasn't just talking about walking, he was talking about how we achieve anything in life. Every big thing we can think of, every grand accomplishment started with one small, simple action. Think about it. The company you admire most didn't start as a billion-dollar empire. It started with someone sitting down and writing a business plan, or making a single prototype, or even just having a conversation with a friend about an idea. The musician you love didn't play sold-out stadiums overnight. They started by practicing one chord for 10 minutes a day. That's the heart of this wisdom. It's not about the angle, it's about that very first step, and then the next one after that. Now, let's look at this from a psychological angle. Our brains are wired to avoid things that feel too big, too scary, too overwhelming. When you set a goal like become fluent in Spanish or start a successful business, your brain sees that as a massive, insurmountable task, and it tries to protect you by making you procrastinate. It's like your brain is saying, that's too much work, let's just watch some TV instead. But here's the thing, your brain doesn't react the same way to tiny way to procrastinate. It's like your brain can't find a good excuse to say no. There's no stress, no pressure. You can do it in 5 minutes. And once you do that small thing, you build momentum. You feel good about yourself for taking action. And that makes it easier to do the next small thing. And the next one. The magic isn't in how big the step is. It's in actually taking it. Let's put this into action with a common modern challenge, learning something new. So many people set these vague, huge goals like master guitar or become a great writer. But then they look at all the things they need to learn: chords, scales, song structure for guitar, grammar, vocabulary, storytelling for writing, and they just give up before they even start. But if you apply Laozi's principle, you forget about mastering anything. Your first step isn't learn everything about guitar. It's pick up the guitar and practice one open paragraph about my day. These are actions so small that there's no way to procrastinate. You can't say, I don't have time for 5 minutes. You can say, I'm not good enough yet, because all you're doing is practicing one chord or writing one paragraph. And here's the cool part. Cognitive science says that these tiny, consistent efforts add up over time. It's like compound interest for your skills. Every 5-minute practice session, every one paragraph writing exercise builds on the last one. Before you know it, you've learned a dozen chords, you've written a few pages, and you're actually making progress. You didn't get there by taking a few sleep. You got there by taking one small step at a time. Entrepreneurship is another area where this principle works wonders. So many people who want to start a business get stuck trying to create the perfect product. They spend months tweaking every detail, worrying about every possible feature, and they never actually launch anything. But Laozi would say, stop trying to build the perfect product. Start with the simplest version that solves one core problem. That's called a minimum viable product, or MVP. Your first step isn't build a billion-dollar company. It's create a one-page website explaining your idea, or talk to 3 people who might be interested in what you're making. These small steps do 2 things. First, they give you immediate feedback. You can see if people actually care about your idea, instead of spending months on something no one wants. Second, they take away the fear of failure. If you just talk to 3 people, there's no pressure. Even if they don't like your idea, you haven't wasted months of work. All you've done is take a tiny step forward. And successful businesses aren't born fully formed, right? They evolved through these small, iterative steps. A 1,000-mile journey of building a company starts with that first conversation, that first tiny test of your idea. Now, let's talk about health, because that's another area where so many people struggle. How many times have you made a New Year's resolution to exercise for an hour every day? Or completely change your diet? And how many times have you quit after a week or 2? Because those goals are just too big. They feel like a huge, overwhelming commitment, and your brain rebels against them. But Laozi's wisdom gives us a better way. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire lifestyle in one day, start with a single, tiny step. Your first step isn't exercise for an hour. It's take a 10-minute walk after dinner, or drink 1 extra glass of water today. These are so small that you can possibly fail at them. Behavioral psychology tells us that tiny habits are way more sustainable than these huge, ambitious resolutions. When you make the first step so small, it's almost silly. You can't say, I don't have time for a 10-minute walk. You can say, I might start thinking, hey, maybe I can walk for 15 minutes tomorrow. Or maybe I can add a quick stretch to my walk. The habit grows naturally because you started small. The journey to better health isn't a sprint. It's a series of small, consistent choices that add up over time. So, what's the practical takeaway from all this? It's simple. Stop staring at the 1,000-mile journey. Stop worrying about how far you have to go. Focus on the step right in front of you. Whatever your big goal is, learning a skill, starting a business, getting healthier, break it down until you find an action. so small that you can't say no to it. It might be, write 1 sentence in my journal today. It might be, do 2 push-ups right now. Once you have that tiny step, take it today. Then, take another one tomorrow. And another one the next day. The thing about progress is that it compounds in ways you can't always predict. When you start, you might think that learning 5 Spanish words a day is nothing. But after a year, that's 1,825 words, enough to have a basic conversation. You might think that talking to 3 customers is a small step, but those 3 conversations could lead to feedback that changes your business idea, sets you on the path to success. And here's the big lesson. True achievement isn't about having willpower. It's about having the wisdom to start where you are, with what you have. You don't need to have everything figured out before you start. You don't need to have all the skills, all the money, all the time. You just need to take that first, small step. Laozi was saying this 2,500 years ago. But it's just as true today. In a world where we're bombarded with images of overnight success and huge achievement, it's easy to forget that every big thing starts with something small. But this ancient wisdom reminds us that the most profound guidance often comes from the simplest truths. So, whatever you've been putting off, whatever big goal you've been scared to start, take that first single step today. Because that's how the 1,000-mile journey begins.